All right. So this is our week 3/4 assignment of all of the problems that we had to solve using code here. So we're just going to go through it. First question is programmatically subtract the value of the first element in the array from the value of the last element of the array. Do not use the seventh element in your code and then print the result to the console. So here's an array of ints that we made. So we want to do subtract 3 from 93. So we just basically printed out our array minus the array length minus 1 because we're not allowed to use the last element in our array. So if you run it, you can see that, you can see that 3 minus 93 equals negative 90. And so the next question is add a new age to your array and repeat the step above to ensure it is dynamic and works all together. So we'll just add 3 there, run it again, and then you can see 3 minus 3 is 0. So we know it works for any amount of elements in the array. All right, so the next question was use a loop to iterate through the array and calculate the average array. Calculate the average age in the array. Print the result to the console. So we created a new double called sum equals 0, and then we have an enhanced for loop here. So for numbers in ages, sum plus equals numbers. Which is going to give us the total of the numbers in the array, and then we're going to divide that by the length of the array to get the average. And we want to make it a double because we know there's going to be a decimal point in there. So 25.888888 out of all of these. And you see if we get rid of 3 here and run it again, down here is 28.75. So we know it works. All right, and then the next question is use an array of string or create an array of string called names that contains the following values. So here's our string of arrays. You have string array, names is what we call it. And then we use the short version of making an array. Sam, Tommy, Tim, Sally, Buck, Bob. All right, so it says for our next question, use a loop to iterate through the array and calculate the average number of letters per name. Print the result to the console. So we made a new variable of int here, started at 0, and then we did an enhanced for loop. So for name in names, number of letters, which is our variable, plus equals the length. And then that is going to print out our average numbers of letters, or our average number of letters in the name. So we do our number of letters divided by the length of our names here, the length of the array, which gives us 23. All right. Next question. Use a loop to iterate through the array again and concatenate all the names together, separated by spaces. So we made a string that carries, we made an empty string here called anything. And then we made a traditional for loop. I is less than the name's length, and then we print out, and we do anything plus equals names in the array plus spaces, and then we printed out the array. We printed out the variable anything, which gives us all the names in the array with the spaces here. All right, and then how do you access the first element in the array? So the first element in the array always starts with 0. So it goes 0, 1, 2, 3, etc. So create an array of int called name lengths. Write a loop to iterate over the previously created array and add the length of each name to the name lengths array. So we created a new array here called name lengths, and we added the number of letters in the previously created array up here. So we have 3, 5, 3, 5, 4, 3. Same as 3, Tommy's 4, Tim's 3, so on. So write a loop to iterate over the name lengths array and calculate the sum of all elements in the array. So we started with making a new variable of int called total, starting at 0, and then an enhanced for loop here, numbers in name lengths, and total plus equals number. And then we just printed out the total. right here. So that's the sum of all um, here in the name linked array, or in the in the name links array. All right, and then we get into methods now. So write a method that takes a string and an int as arguments, or returns the word concatenated to itself that many number of times. So here's our method for that. We did a public static string because it's going to return a string, called it multiply string, and then we just put in the parameters here for x and y. So we started with making an empty string, and then we created a for loop here, and then plus equals x, which is our variable here, and it returns the result because this method has to return something, and then we added our variables up here in this class. So we created a string called triple hello equals the method name, and then we passed through hello and 3, which returned hello hello concatenated 3 times with each other. All right, next, write a method that takes 2 strings, first and last name, and returns the full name. And then the full name should be the first and the last name as a string separated by space. So we wrote the method here, called it give full name, and then we just returned the string plus a space plus the second string. And then I just used my name. So string, first name Kyle, last name Gail, entered the method, called the strings through it, and printed out the full name, which gives us our full name down here, Kyle Gale. Next method, write a method that takes an array of int and returns true if the sum of all ints in the array is greater than 100. So we started with making an int variable at 0, did a for loop. Oh, sorry, we started with this method here, and it's going to be a Boolean because it's going to return a true or a false. So anytime it's going to return a true or a false, we know it's going to be a Boolean statement or a Boolean method. So called it a Boolean, named it array of numbers in an int array called numbers. So first we made an int variable and then an enhanced for loop for number in our numbers, sum plus equals number. So that's going to give us the sum of all of the numbers in the array. So if the sum is greater than 100, return true or return false. So then we had to make an array up here, which we did. And then we printed out the name of the method, and we passed through our numbers array through it. So you can see that 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 does not equal 100, so it returns false. And if we just wanted to add 100 there to prove that it works, we see it return true. So we know that works. Okay, so next, write a method that takes an array of double or returns the average of all elements in the array. So this is the method that we chose, public static. We know it's going to return a double. We're going to calculate the average of our double array. So first we made a variable, double variable starting at 0. And then we made an enhanced for loop going through that number 2 array, total plus equals number, which is going to give us the total of all the numbers in the array. And to find the average, you divide the total divided by the length here. So that's what we did, total divided by array length. And up here we made our double array, and we passed through our method plus our parameters here. And it came to 33.25. All right. Next up, write a method that takes an array of double, returns the average of all elements in the array. So another, oh wait, that's the one we just did, didn't we? All right, so we're down here. Write a method that takes 2 arrays of double and returns true if the average of the elements in the first array is greater than the average elements in the second array. So new method, but we know it's going to be a Boolean because it's going to return a true or a false. So we did a calculate average for 2, as we called it. And we had to pass in, our parameters are going to be 2 double arrays. So basically just did the first, for the first array, the same thing that we did in the question before. And then we just kind of do it twice, since there are 2 arrays. And then if the sum is greater than the total, so if the elements in the first array are greater than the average elements in the second array, return true or else return false. So we had to make another array up here, which we did, and we passed in the name of the method and the two arrays along in there, which returned false. All right, write a method called will buy drink. It takes a boolean is outside and a double money in pocket, and returns true if it is hot outside and in money in pocket is greater than 1050. So here's a method, another boolean because it's going to return true, false. Called it will buy drink. The boolean we called temp, and the double we called money. So if the temperature equals true, so if it is hot outside and our money is greater than 1050, then we're going to buy a drink and return true. Or if none of those are true, we'll return false. So we came up here, we created a variable, a boolean variable. It's hot outside, set it to true, and we made a double variable money in pocket and 9. So because it is hot outside, but we have less than 1050 in our pocket, it's going to return false. Now, if we made this to $11, we'll return true. And then for the last question, we had to create a method of your own that solves a problem and write what it does. So I just did a simple Boolean method that tells us if it is past 11 o'clock, we were going to go to sleep, or if it's not past 11 o'clock, we're not going to go to sleep. So this declared a variable up here, an int variable called 12. And then we just wrote time to sleep question mark. And I guess we could have done this in one line, but we made two, just I guess it works. And then we pass through time for our method here. So it's 12 o'clock. Is it time to sleep? True. Yes, it is. All right. Thank you.